I enter the room and find a small, unadorned kitten waiting near my chair. I extend my hand and the kitten steps forward. I place my palm lightly on its soft, unblemished fur and begin to stroke along its slender back. The kitten's fur yields easily beneath my touch. I continue to move my hand in slow, deliberate motions from its head down its spine. Its small body remains quiet and still, and I persist in the measured motion of petting. I lift the kitten gently so that it may settle on my lap. With my hand still in contact, I trace a line along its shoulder. I pause only to reposition my hand, and then resume my strokes along the curve of its back. I allow my fingers to brush along its neck and over the tops of its ears, then return to the long, unbroken stroke along its back. The kitten responds solely with a steady, soft purr, its eyes closing briefly before reopening. I continue without interruption. I adjust my grip slightly and allow the kitten to shift its position on my lap. I now reach to stroke its side in a careful, unhurried manner. My hand moves in a series of consistent strokes, first along the kitten's flank, and then gently over its underbelly. I note the texture of its fur as I pass my hand across different parts of its small frame. The kitten does not struggle. It simply allows the motion without protest or variance. I then direct my attention to the kitten's head. My hand moves slowly to caress the soft fur on its crown, pausing at the delicate ears. I run my fingers along the edge of each ear, careful to maintain a light and steady touch. I observe as the kitten tilts its head in response, its eyes bright and unblinking. I continue to stroke from the back of its head down to the nape of its neck, keeping my motions even and precise. I pause briefly to allow my hand to rest against its fur. The kitten's purr continues in an even cadence, and I resume with a fresh series of strokes along its back. I let my hand travel from the base of its neck along its spine and back again, repeating the same sequence with consistent pace. I do not vary the motion. I maintain a single, uniform pattern, simply moving my hand over its fur in a continuous line. At a point, I withdraw my hand and introduce a small toy, a ball of yarn, near the kitten's feet. The kitten momentarily diverts its attention to the moving ball, but I continue to hold its head and stroke its fur with the same careful motions. Its whiskers twitch as I shift the angle of my hand from side to side, and I note the quiet responsiveness in the small movements of its body. My hand returns to a steady series of strokes along its head and back, never deviating from the same pattern of contact. I allow the kitten to rest its head on my hand for several seconds. Its eyes narrow slightly as I run my fingers in gentle circles across the soft patch of fur on its cheek. I then extend my stroke to cover the area from its head down along one side of its body. I work my way back to its back in a single measured motion, all the while keeping my touch steady and unvaried. The kitten now appears more relaxed. Its purr becomes a quiet, consistent murmur as I continue to move my hand in slow, measured strokes. I shift my hand to trace the curve of its small tail for a moment before returning to its back. I move my hand deliberately from the kitten's shoulder along its flank, then back to the top of its head. There is a uniformity in my motions, a sequence of deliberate touches that repeats in a simple rhythm. I allow my hand to remain on its fur as the kitten settles into a state of quiet repose. The animal lies on my lap with its small chest rising and falling gently. I pause my stroking only to let my hand rest, then resume with a few more measured caresses along its back. I note the slow rise and fall of its breathing and the faint, persistent hum of its purr as I continue to hold it. My hand moves once more, this time in a slow, even pattern over the kitten's back from its neck to the base of its tail. I cover the full length of its small frame in a single, unbroken gesture. I then retrace the motion in the reverse direction. The kitten remains quietly alert throughout the entire process, responding only by a soft vibration of purrs and occasional small shifts of its body. After several minutes of this uncomplicated, methodical petting, I gradually ease my hand away. I allow the kitten to remain in my lap, its small body resting in a position of calm stillness. I lift my hand slowly, not interrupting the kitten's repose. I observe that it continues to lie quietly, its purr soft and consistent. The entire sequence is a continuous, literal account of my actions, approaching the kitten, extending my hand, and executing a series of deliberate strokes across its fur. Every movement is performed in a straightforward manner. I neither elaborate beyond what is immediately before me, nor interject any further commentary into the sequence. I simply pet the kitten, one measured stroke after another, until the moment passes naturally.